CNN posted this analysis that whether it's Trump or Biden, some in Europe see the U.S. as an unreliable ally. And in looking at, this is Luke McGee's analysis, and McGee kind of said, look, they're worried about Trump, right? The Europeans, for very obvious reasons, are worried about Trump. He questioned the value of the alliance, and his approach was very strange. And they're worried that either Trumpism will last in the Republican Party and infect American foreign policy. Trump might come back; he might win office. So there are those concerns. But I think more interestingly, McGee said the second concern they have is even if it's Biden, Biden has been very aggressive. This is something that in our view, right, in the United States of what Biden is and isn't, it's driven by the Republican Democratic debate. But around the world, Biden's approach to China has been seen as very aggressive, pushing back on the liberal model of free trade, engagement with other nations as the best way to build Pacific relations, right? And so when looking at the Pacific Ocean and the Pacific region, the Europeans are, I think, understandably more likely to take the approach that engaging with China, trading with China is important, and that having an adversarial relationship may not be the best way to move forward. And the Europeans, why? Well, the European Union is the living embodiment of liberalism, of the growth of free trade, the effect that having open borders and open relations with other nations does away with centuries of tensions and violence, right? This is what the EU is kind of an exemplar of. And so, not surprisingly, they see that as a real tool, not a pie in the sky, hold hands and sing kumbaya plan. No, that's their reality. They could be excused for wanting to approach China maybe a little more like that. The whole EU has a GDP of $17 trillion, more or less, which is about the size of the Chinese economy. So if we treat the EU as a single player, which they are not, but they can be, right? They're almost. They're the third nation. They're the third pole in the world, right? At least economically they are. I'm sure they're very happy that the U.S. is with them now on Russia. But when it comes to China, they are an important, potentially very important third actor. And militarily, they break out, right? There's a German foreign policy, a French foreign policy, a British foreign policy. But economically, there's the UK is not part of it, but the EU is a major player. And so this is something that I think going forward, we have to keep in mind. It's not just Trump, it's not just Biden, it's the U.S. approach. And they are seeing a U.S. consensus of get tough on China, be adversarial with China, resist trade and engagement with China. That is not their bag, right? Not their thing. So this is something that we have to keep in mind is driving relations and is going to probably not immediately impact things in Ukraine or more things, but over the long haul may be very important in terms of international politics and how we address China.